Start with the debate. What is it like to debate against Joe Biden? What advice would you have for Joe Biden as he goes into the debate tomorrow night?
Well, David, I think that Joe Biden is a very calm, confident debater. I think he comes through as what he is, which is somebody who really cares about the American people. He doesn't get too complicated. He sticks to his basic points, and he comes through as a very caring individual. So I think that from the standpoint of the debate stage, he won the first debate with Mr. Trump hands down. And I think it was a huge plus for the campaign because he kept his cool, he kept his awareness of the facts, and he just did a great job, and I'm expecting something similar tomorrow night.
Okay, so I'm sure you don't have time to watch Saturday Night Live, but if you did last Saturday, actually portrayed Vice President Biden as sort of Mr. Rogers. Is that a comfortable position? By the way, is that a bad position for him to be taking right now, given what's going on across this debate stage for him?
Well, I think that the idea, I think when you say Mr. Rogers, you know, wearing that very comforting sweater, you have a candidate who first and foremost relates to the American people, whose policies are really a reflection of his caring for and confidence in the brains and the hard work of Americans. So I think that that attitude that we're going to have the exact opposite of Mr. Trump, that we're going to have an experienced, caring person who's going to rely on experts and make decisions based on the facts is going to be a sea change in a very good way for America. And I think that that comes across on the debate stage, and it's very reassuring and positive.
Tom, last time you were here, we spent a fair amount of time talking about the wildfires in California. I really want to know, what's the status of those now? I mean, they were tragic, really historic. What's going on with the wildfires right now? Well,
we've moved past the worst part of it by far, David, and the air is clear back in California. And so, you know, it's important to remember, though, that the news on climate from around the world is terrible. You know, yes, we've had more than double any fire, you know, in terms of acreage burned in California this year. We've had a record number of storms in the Gulf, record number. We have news coming from the poles about sea rise and about the melting of the permafrost that's very threatening. So there's no question that we have an absolute need to deal with this urgently. And to be clear, Joe Biden's plan does deal with this so-called Build Back Better plan, does deal with this urgently. And it's a place where the difference between Joe Biden and Donald Trump is enormous. The gulf couldn't be bigger. We have a candidate who is dealing with science, acknowledging it, and then coming up with a plan that doesn't just deal with climate, but creates millions of good-paying union jobs and deals with environmental justice, you know, part of the systemic racism in our society, versus a candidate who literally can't admit to the problem, just as he can't deal with COVID, he has no plan. You know, this is the urgency of climate is a perfect example of the difference between these candidates, and is a perfect reason about why we're going to have historic turnout in America this year, because Americans realize we're at a turning point, and we absolutely have to choose the positive, future-oriented path that Joe Biden's laying out. There's just no question about it.
Tom, finally, talk to me about the California economy. I know you've been on the panel that Governor Newsom really appointed to get the economy open again. It's not been a straight path, I think. I was really taken aback by the fact that the Walt Disney Company now is really objecting to the way that it's being handled. Bob Iger, at one point, I think, was on the panel with you. He's the executive chairman of Walt Disney Company. What's going on there? Because Disney's saying, look, they let us open in Orlando, but not out in Anaheim.
Well, I think what's going on is that Governor Newsom made the determination, and I think it's right, that for us to get the robust recovery we want, we need to get the virus under control. And that means that there are protocols and rules about all the different businesses and industries in terms of when you get to open a restaurant, and when you get to open a gymnasium, and when you get to open a school, and when you get to open a theme park. And Governor Newsom has stuck to his guns and insisted that we keep Californians safe. And those numbers are very much reflected in the health and safety of Californians and how he's protected them. And so the bet has been from the beginning, and our task force has supported him in this, that first and foremost protect the health and safety of Californians. And then we'll get, because all the data says then you get the most robust recovery. So it's, his health officials told him that that was a bad thing to do, to allow Disneyland to open as soon as the Walt Disney Company would like, and he stuck to his guns and went with health and safety. And I think we're seeing that that's absolutely supported by the level of infection and also the death rate. So I think this is another example of where we have a Democratic governor dealing with science, caring about the health and safety of his constituency, and doing the right thing. It's the exact opposite, honestly, of the failed non-response to COVID that our president has had, which is no plan, no rules, an actual denial that it even matters or is happening, and an attempt to smooth it over. And you can see that around the country. That is a policy which is leading to, spikes in infection rates and spikes in deaths that apparently Mr. Trump doesn't care about.